a fun topic today. I'm here with the expert real estate agent, Melanie. And here we're going to talk about the cost of buying and selling real estate.
So what is Wealth Match? Tools and advice that can help you maximize your wealth. She's getting paid for what she knows and not what she does.
To work less and play more.
To maximize the wealth for my clients.
Your retirement plan.
Teach me something, Uncle Money.
How you guys doing today? Today we have a fun topic today. I'm here with the expert real estate agent, Melanie. And here we're going to talk about the cost of buying and selling real estate.
Yes.
A lot of people think, wow, I just have equity in my home. It's going to be cash in my pocket. But there's a cost to doing these type of transactions. So I'm here with Melanie and just give us an overview of what a real estate agent does.
A real estate agent basically works for you.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people all the time, hey, you're my boss. I listen to you. But I listen to you with a listening ear that also has had its education, experience, resources, and knowledge of the real estate world. So that's what I do, and I try to do it well.
And it's all about having fun. So selling a house is an emotional thing. You've lived in that house, it has an attachment. But it's good to have somebody who's experienced this, knows the emotion that comes with to help transact the cost.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about the cost of selling a home, and there's so many different costs that I didn't know about, and she has educated me over the past couple months that I thought it'd be a great idea to share. So can you please tell us some of the costs of selling a home?
Yes, so for example, I think a lot of people don't realize that when you sell your home, there is a cost associated with it. So if you have a home that's $200,000 in value, and that valuation can come from me as a broker price opinion, you as the person selling the home, and or a licensed appraiser. So we can get to that in a lot of different ways. If we use a licensed appraiser, boom, that's one of the costs.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
So already out the gate, just to determine the price that you're going to sell your home, could be a cost associated with that. The other part is there's a lot of little miscellaneous stuff. I highly recommend that you have your house inspected. What is an inspection? An inspection is where you hire a licensed inspector who's a professional person. They really come and just say, man, you've lived well in this house, but you know that broken door on your microwave? We got to get that fixed before we put it on the market. You know, by the way, your air conditioning unit is 12 years old. Based on the serial number, you may want to have that serviced or replaced before you sell your home. These are things that they're going to tell you. So there is another cost, right? So there's a couple of upfront costs, and I highly recommend all the time having your home deep cleaned.
Wow, yeah, that's big.
It's huge. You know, when you're cooking in your on your gas stove or cooking in your oven and you're baking something, a beautiful pie, and it bubbles over onto the base, you don't really pay attention. You kind of wipe it up the best you can. But when you have a deep clean come in, they actually get in there and clean that. They clean your house better than you ever could. Hey, I don't do baseboards. So I pay for somebody to come in every once in a while, and I'm not even selling my house. Right. Just come on in and do some deep cleaning for me, maybe once a quarter. So out the gate, I tell people already, based on your purchase price, and we're going to use $200,000, okay? 1% for miscellaneous stuff like that. Maybe an appraisal, an inspection, deep cleaning. Those are some of the things initially that you can expect to pay for. And those are things to get your house ready to sell.
Wow. So you don't think about those costs. And unfortunately, that's not the end. There's other costs you need to consider, right?
Yeah, there's about a 10% pie. 10%. So if your house is going to sell for $200,000, 10%, that's $20,000. Good news is you don't have to write out a check today for $20,000. That is these $20,000, that 10% pie, it's negotiated. It can be less, it could be more, but it doesn't come out of your pocket directly. It comes out of the proceeds of your sale when we're at the closing table. So to get to those proceeds, who does that? That's not really my job as a realtor. That's the job of the closing attorney's office, right? So there's closing costs, and usually that's about 3%.
Wow, They charge for that.
Absolutely, right? It's just like paying a lawyer.
Yes.
What they do is they overlook all of the contracts that we have submitted as negotiated and gotten your house under contract between myself and another agent.
Yep.
All that has to be, you know, T's crossed, I's dotted, and that's what the closing attorney does. And so when closing attorney does that, I don't know about you, but I don't know any attorneys that work for free.
That's true.
Right.
Right. That's big. That's really big.
Yes. So out of that 10%, we've already gotten to 4, right?
4%.
3% in closing costs. Closing costs is usually, supposedly, typically paid for by the buyer.
Okay.
But guess what?
Mhm.
They often ask the seller for a seller paid closing cost or seller contribution towards closing. So a lot of times they're going to ask you for that 3%. Right. So again, we were at 4. Now we're at. That's what I'm saying. So we're just moving on up.
Yep.
We're moving on up. So the last piece that people need to get is, as your realtor, I'm going to work with you.
Right.
I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to cry when you cry because it's your house that mama lived here or my baby was born upstairs.
First steps.
First steps. These are true stories.
Yeah.
No kidding. I had a guy who told me once, I don't want to sell my house. I've done a lot of work here. You know what the work was he told me?
What?
I cut down 27 trees in my backyard.
Wow.
27 trees. I mean, really? But there's an emotional connection to your home. You know, when you live in your home and you live well and you enjoy your life, you enjoy your family, you enjoy your pet, your dog, your fish, whatever it is, it's your home. It's where you come in and it's your sanctuary. And it's very emotional to part with your sanctuary. So as a realtor, one of the things that we help do is we really try to help navigate those emotional waters, right? And not just that, but we also then navigate those emotional waters and negotiate the transaction, right? So we are on your behalf. I'm trying to make sure you get the most money in your pocket when you give up those keys for that home that you love.
Yes,
Right.
That's important. That's really important. So those are the costs, and what does that all total up to again?
That's that 10% that we talked about, right? So that cost for me to help you sell your home. The other thing is that you also pay for that cost for the buyer's agent.
Okay.
So you, as the seller, typically pay the commissions on the sale. And in Georgia, it's typical for a real estate transaction for the realtor side, the seller agent, the buyer's agent to get 3%. So that's 6%.
Wow.
Yeah, off the bat.
Off $200,000, not off the profit,
No.
but off the whole value of your home.
Of the purchase price.
Right.
Correct. So if we're talking $200,000 and we're saying that you should expect 10% off the top, you're talking $20,000. So the big cost that people often forget, guess what? All this time you've been living in your house, you've been paying a mortgage.
It's true.
Right. So you typically owe the bank or your lending institution something.
That's right.
So before I ever get started with any transaction, if somebody comes to me and says, I really want to sell my house, that's great. Call the bank and find out how much you have to pay them to sell it.
Gotcha.
Right? So if you bought the house for $150,000, it's appreciated because you lived there, you've made some improvements. Now we're going to list it at $200,000. The bank says you owe us $100,000. So before we get to any of my costs, you already know that $100,000 or whatever you owe, your balance on your mortgage has to get paid off first, right? So that is a big cost. I can't tell you what that's going to be. Depends on your circumstance and your situation. You only can get that when you make a call to the lender and ask them for a payoff amount.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, huge mistake people make. Oh, my payoff is going to be this because it says that on my mortgage statement. They're not one and the same. And you can speak a lot to that because that has a lot to do with taxation and projected numbers and all these interest rates, all these different things go into putting a number on your mortgage statement versus a payoff amount. They are not one and the same.
No.
Yeah.
And that's important. So really understand where you sit with your mortgage, and that is that payoff amount that you mentioned.
Right.
Understand that this is the amount that I have to do to walk away from my home.
Right.
And that's net of what you look at when you think about the profit of your house.
Right. So to wind it all up in a nice little cute nutshell, your house is now, you owe the bank $100,000.
Yep.
It's going to cost you 10% of $200,000 to sell your home. That is $120,000. That is going to come out of the price that the buyer pays at the closing table.
Right.
They're going to get some keys, and you're going to get a check for $80,000. Yes, I think that's great.
I think it's a fair deal. You have worked hard, you paid off your mortgage, you made those extra payments if necessary. That is going to be the money in your pocket and that you can do to enhance your life or even buy a better property.
Hey, that's it right there. So a lot of people actually do both or a combination thereof. And some people who are get that big check, because $80,000 is a big check. I don't know about you, but that's nice.
It means something to me.
Right. The cost of purchasing a home is usually basically around that same 10%. We'll talk about that later. So now take 10% out of that. That means you need about, depending on the house, let's say you're moving up in the world, you want a bigger house, you want a better house, you want that 10%. So out of that $80,000, hold $25,000 to the side.
Smart.
Absolutely, because that's going to get you into your new home. The other piece that you may want to do is you may want to invest. Yes. So you may want to make some of that into some investments that Randall can advise you on.
Exactly.
Right. And then some of it, you may want to go ahead and pay off some debt. So if you got some student loan debt, some credit card debt, a car note, just go ahead and pay all that off. That's what I did when I sold my home. It took me a long time to sell my home, Randall.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was in that house for 20 years. Yeah. Bought the house for about $114,000. The house appreciated great because it was in a great community. But after 20 years, something should appreciate. In its appreciation, my knowledge grew because I actually became a realtor.
Okay.
Right? So then I said, hey, I'm not going to sit on this house because there's a whole bunch of equity in this house. I can pull that equity out and get something new. So that's what I did. I actually didn't sell my own house either. I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah. I really try to pay it forward to a really dear friend who's been my friend for many, many years. Hi, Nikki Younger, if you're watching in the world.
Because even as a financial advisor, there are a lot of financial advisors who have their own financial advisor.
Yes.
It is something powerful about somebody coming in and helping you facilitate that third party.
Yeah.
Kind of like a therapist, not all the way, but they really push you over that finish line to have your own house. And you can worry about the emotional side where they can handle the heavy lifting and the transactions.
Absolutely. I fully agree with that. So out of that, I got the biggest check I've ever seen in my life, ever, written out to me, and it was $83,000. Wow.
Yes.
I took that money, paid off some debt, paid off my car, and my husband and I used some of that money as a down payment for our new home that we had built from the ground up, which was great.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You can use the equity to move up in your life, but what it goes back down to is planning. And you can use me as a financial advisor to do portion of the plan, but the planning of actually moving, buying and selling, that has to be done by a real estate agent.
Thank you. It does. I believe that. You know, a lot of times people think they know so much about it. But if you just watch this video, for example, I know that there is maybe 1, 2, 3, or 10 things that we've talked about in this brief conversation that you had no idea about trying to sell your home. So thank you for the opportunity to get to share this information. As you can see, I love what I do. I have a good time doing it. I'm proud to say I'm an owner, realtor, and broker of 20 West Realty. We are on 20 West Realty LLC on all social media outlets. Thanks.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
about Uncle Money.